Yes, lads, welcome back to another video. In this one today, I'm going to be showing you how you can create an animated elevator using Unreal Engine. It's going to be extremely easy to follow and it is really effective. Now, there are 1,000 videos on YouTube on how to make an elevator, but the way we've done it is actually we've added a lever that we have to interact with. So we walk up, we press F or E or any key of your choosing, and this controls the elevator and makes it go up, and then after a few seconds, it'll actually come down automatically. So this is the final product. Right, so for this tutorial, it's obviously more about the code rather than the static meshes, but if you want to use your own custom static meshes, just use something similar to what I've got here. I've got a lift, I've got a chain, I've got a lever base, and I've got a lever handle. Um, yeah, like I said, you can just use cubes and just scale them, or you can use actual static meshes. But we're going to actually use a blueprint interface right now to communicate between our BP third person character and our elevator. So we're going to right click, go to blueprint, blueprint interface, and this is kind of like a walkie talkie between the third person character or the character you're controlling and the blueprints. So I've just renamed the function interact and created this interface. This is our little walkie talkie. Now we can actually communicate. So we can go to the class settings and we're going to go to interfaces, implemented interfaces, and go to BPI interact. Now we have one walkie-talkie, I would say, on our character. Now we just need to add a couple more to the actual blueprints. But first, before we do that, we're actually going to go to the mappings. This is the input mapping context, the IMC. I'm just going to duplicate one of these inputs and rename this IA underscore interact. This is going to be the button that we press, or the key we press, to interact with our object. So just press F on your keyboard or E, whatever button you want to use to interact, and click save. Now, if we just search in IA underscore interact by right clicking in the event graph of the BP Fairburn character, we can actually bring up this node here, and out of triggered, we can actually make it do stuff. So let's add a print string and rename that interact. And when we click play and we press F on our keyboard, as you can see, it's printing interact in the top left. That's basically what that little input setup does. Obviously, we don't really want it to do this, so we're actually going to add some line of code. So I'm just going to add a new function, and this is going to be interact trace. And this is going to be detecting if it's basically going to shoot a line trace or a sphere trace that detects if we can interact with the object. So I'll just get a sphere trace by channel, and we need a start and an end location. So the start is going to be our follow camera, and we're going to get the world location, just like this, and move that bit to the left. So the follow camera's location inside the world is going to be our start, and the endpoint is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be the forward vector, so whichever way the camera's facing, added with a value and added to the world location. So if we can actually just hook this into here and plug this into here, that is going to be our endpoint. Now, right now, that is the exact same position, but if we actually give this a value, it will shoot forward a certain amount. So let me just zoom in a little bit here. This right here is going to be our range, and if we click to float single precision, just like this, this is going to be the range in which we can shoot our line trace. So I'm just going to promote that to a variable and rename it interaction range, so we can change this later on, and then we can set a value in here. For now, let's just set maybe 800, and there we go. Just change the debug type to duration, and the duration is going to be 2 seconds, and we can actually change the radius here to like 20, and then press play, and when we press F, we're interacting, but we're not actually doing anything. And why is this? Well, we've actually made this function, but we've never actually told the engine when to call the function. So if we go to the event graph, what we want to do is get the interaction trace, and we're going to plug this into here, into interact, just like that. Now when we play, you'll see it'll shoot a sphere forward, and the range it's shooting forward is from the camera's location 800 units forward. It's necessary, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to get a all actors of class and make sure that this sphere trace doesn't collide with our BP third person character. So I'm going to get all actors of class, like this, and the class is going to be BP third person character. Like I said, not sure if this is necessary, but this is just what I've got in my notes, and I can't really remember why I did it. So I'm just going to do it anyway. That's going to go into all actor, and let's plug the interaction trace into there and do this. Lovely stuff. Right, okay, so out of the sphere trace by channel, we actually want to get a return node, and we want to drag the out hit onto the return node just to give it this output pin. So when the line trace is called, we actually get this out hit, and we can break this and get the hit actor. So this is the actor that the trace hits. Now we're going to get a does implement interface node and check if it has our interact interface, our quote quote walkie talkie. And we can actually add a branch just like this, and this will tell us, well, if it does implement the interface, do something out of true, and if it doesn't have the interface, we can do something. So I'm going to print a string and just rename this doesn't have interface. Now whenever we press the F key, it's going to shoot our line trace, check if it has the interface or if it's interactable, and if it is not interactable, it's going to print out it doesn't have the interface. So before we do anything else, we're actually going to go into the level, click play, and as you can see in the top left then, it was saying, oh, we don't have the interface. Now we can actually remove this print string, just like this, and this code is working perfectly fine. So let's just look around, and as you can see, it doesn't have interface because none of these objects are interactable. So what we're actually going to have to do is make an interactable object. So if I go to the content folder, we have all these static meshes, but we're going to right click, blueprint class, and go to actor. This is going to be our BP underscore elevator, and this is where we add our meshes and where we add our code, our functionality. So for this tutorial, I'm actually using a base, a chain to pull the base up. I'm using a lever and a lever handle. You obviously don't need any of this. You could literally just use a cube if you wanted to. And I'm just going to position these static meshes in the correct place. So I'm just going to move the chain up like this, and then I'm going to move the lever and the lever handle to the side. Let me just remove this Unreal Engine logo. Right, okay, so you should be able to see a little bit better now. Now, the reason I'm doing this is because I want the chain to be the parent, and I want the base to be a child of the chain. And then we're going to do the same here. So the parent is going to be the base of this one. So I'll click that, and we can drag the handle on top of it. This just makes it so we can actually rotate the handle without rotating the base. Hopefully that wasn't too confusing. It shouldn't be. It's relatively simple to follow along. And what I'm going to do next, I'm just going to add some quick materials to make it look a little bit better. Just going to add this weird chain material to each one of these static meshes, and then we can actually move on and add some functionality. So it's looking pretty good. Next, what we need to do is compile and save, and I want to add one more thing, and that other thing is going to be our walkie-talkie. So click class settings, go to add implement interfaces, and BPI interact. Like I said, now we have a walkie-talkie in this BP and in our BP third person character as well, so they can both communicate to each other basically. Now if we just go into interfaces and double click this, we get this interact node. Now out of this node, what we can actually do is get a timeline and rename it whatever you want. I'm not going to rename it anything. I'm just going to double click on it to open it up. Then we're going to add a track. If we just click this little plus button at the top and change the length of the track to 1. I'm not going to add a name for this either, but what I am going to do, in fact actually let's name it length. Add a key, time is going to be 0, value 0, and then add another key and it's going to be time 1, value 1. So we're going to go from 0 to 1, basically. From 0 to 0 to 1 to 1. Now if we go back to the event graph, let's just highlight this and press Q to align it. This is going to be the way we animate our static meshes. So we have a lever here, and we want to make this go from here to here. So the location that was 70. So what I'm going to do is get the lever handle, and out of this I'm going to get a set relative rotation just like this, and then we're going to set it from whatever we had before to whatever we want basically. So I'm going to get a lerp node like this, and connect up the X, Y, and Z. And then the A is going to be the starting value and the B is going to be the ending value. So like we just seen a minute ago, it was like 79. I've just changed it to 80 in the X. So we're going from 0, 0, 0 to 80, 0, 0 basically. And this should work perfectly fine. So we can actually go and test this now. If we just go into play, we actually need to drag the blueprint into the map first. So let's drag the BP elevator inside. Now when we go up to this and interact with it, we should be able to just press F or whatever key you used, and it should rotate this. Is it working? It doesn't look like it is, so let's actually have a look at where we've gone wrong. Now everybody's a little bit different, but I always use print strings to debug my code, and that's what I'm going to do here. So let's just add a print string out of true, and we're going to rename this can interact. Put that into the string value and change that to green. Now when we click play, let's actually see if it works. And we are interacting, so that line of code is working. And when we obviously select a different actor, it's not. So let's figure out what on earth is going on. So let's go into the BP third person character, and as you can see, I've added this interact node afterwards, but it was the complete wrong one. So just get out of hit actor, interact, and just drag it into the print string of can interact. That was the problem. We weren't actually calling our interaction function or our interaction interface. Make sure it says message on it, and there we go. Perfect. We actually can go over to this, and when we walk over and try and interact with it, you can press F and it'll move the lever just like this. Perfect. So your code should basically look the exact same as mine. Okay, so back into the event graph of the BP elevator, out of set relative rotation, I'm going to add a delay node with the value of 3 seconds because I want this to give us some time to actually step onto the elevator. Then what we're going to do is add a new timeline, just like this. And you can rename it anything you want. And this is going to be the same process as what we did earlier, where we just set up a timeline with two float values. So add a float track, just like this. And then we're going to right click, add a key, and time is going to be 0 and 0, and let's add another one, and time 1, value 1 for now. Highlight everything, right click, and do auto. That'll give us some nice smoothness to our timeline. And actually, wait, let me have a look. This should be, the time should be 5 seconds on the second node, apologies. And then we can actually go back to the event graph. So this is going to take 5 seconds to go from a value from 0 to 1, basically. Okay, so out of new track, or whatever yours is called, we're going to get a lerp node, and we're going to drag this into the alpha value. Out of the return node, we need to set the relative location of the elevator chain, because that is the parent. You can actually just do it to the base if you want as well. So we're going to add set relative location, like this. Split the value here, and split the value here. Oops, maybe not. Let's click stop watching that value. What have we done here? We have done something wrong. Let's actually just delete this node, and we're going to get a vector lerp. So just search here, lerp vector, just like this. Sorry about that. And we're going to connect the X, Y, and Z in just like we did before. Sweet. So like I said, same process. Plug the new track into the alpha, and the A is going to be the start, and the B is going to be where we want to end up. And I'm pretty sure 2,500 units up is going to be okay for us. Let's just double check it. We can actually just click the elevator chain, and right now we are at a location of 330, and we're going to move that up by 2,500. So let's actually just set the Z base value to the base value it is now. So it's going to be 00330, 2,500 for me. Sweet. That looks pretty good. If we actually click play and go up to this, we can actually press F, and then after our little delay node, it'll move the elevator up 2,500 units. Well, 2,200 because we already had like 300 or something. Now if we go up, let's just test it again and check that the collision works. We can actually step onto the elevator, and after a couple of seconds of a delay, we can actually go up and it'll move our character up and down. How cool is that? Now, the elevator never comes down, so let's make it come down as well. So let's drag out of the return value, the output pin, sorry. Add another delay, and then this is kind of like how long you want the elevator to stop in midair for. I'm going to use 5 seconds, so it's going to wait 3 seconds, move it up, and then 5 seconds it's going to like stay still. And I've just realised that we had it in the wrong place, so out of finished we actually need the delay, and then the completed is going to go into the reverse. This is just going to do the complete opposite of what we did to begin with. So after like a few seconds, it's going to reverse the timeline. So there we go. Press the lever, the elevator goes up 2,000 whatever units, holds for 5 seconds, and then it should come back down. And there we go. That is looking pretty good. That was a nice, simple, easy tutorial. If you found anything useful, make sure you like the video. Subscribe to the channel for more content. Check out all the project files on my Patreon, and I will catch you next time. Peace.